Baseball is known for having some of the most wild superstitions in the history of sports, but they may be even crazier than you think. Some players have to eat pancakes before every start, while someone else has to eat fried chicken before every game. One player made the umpire roll the baseball back to him before throwing a pitch, wouldn't start pitching until the center fielder waved at him, and even crouched down whenever his catcher stood up. And this was all the same player, and he did these motions every single game. One of the most feared hitters from the steroid era once wore a golden thong under his uniform to help break out of a slump. Many players wear the same underwear every game. Rick Porcello didn't change or wash his hat for the entire 2016 season and became the best pitcher in baseball that year. And the Minnesota Twins carried around a sausage that they would throw at a player after hitting a home run. And because of that magical sausage, the Twins won 13 games in a row. Even Bryce Harper was slumping, so he took an at-bat with no batting gloves, immediately homered, and then started struggling again once the gloves went back on. A few weeks later, during the worst slump of Bryce's career, he decided to wear knee-high socks and then broke out of his slump once again. These are just some of the more outlandish superstitions that Major League Baseball players have had, but I need to know which one is the weirdest. So stick around until the end of the video where I crown the single most insane baseball superstition. The history of superstitions goes back many years in Major League Baseball, like someone who refused to pitch unless he had a bunch of pebbles in his pocket. Who knows why, but that's the truth. Superstitions have always been a given for a sport like baseball, and there's a pretty simple reason as to why, and it's best summed up with legendary catcher Yogi Berra's quote, "Baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical." With 162 games, slumping is a given, and baseball players need a reason for their failures. And again, it can't be because they just got physically beat. It has to be because they did something in their routine wrong. Maybe they didn't eat the right breakfast. Maybe they didn't put their socks on their left foot first. Maybe they accidentally stepped on the foul line while walking out to the outfield. It could literally be anything in the world other than being physically beaten, because obviously not. Some of the more well-known and obvious superstitions are things like not saying that a pitcher has a no-hitter when they do, or not talking to a dealing starting pitcher in the dugout, or something like wearing a lucky necklace, or even readjusting your equipment like Nomar Garciaparra and David Ortiz both tended to do between every single pitch. But these are too basic. We're looking for the weirdest of the weird, the best of the best superstitions. Let's go to them right now. Longtime National League reliever Turk Wendell was probably the most superstitious baseball player in the history of planet Earth. I mean, this guy was a freak in the best possible way. Wendell had almost 10 insane things that he did every single outing. Because again, if he didn't, he would have failed. He would have given up home run after home run. We know how this works. First off, Wendell drew 3 crosses on the back of the pitcher's mound before beginning his outings. This isn't super uncommon. Many players do something similar where they draw a heart or a number or something in the dirt. However, 3 crosses is pretty hilarious because it just seems a little bit extra. Actually, before he started his outings, he stuffed his mouth with black licorice to pitch with the candy in his mouth. Not only is this insane, he also chose black licorice as his candy of choice. This might be the biggest issue here. Like I mentioned earlier, many players hate touching the foul line. However, Wendell probably thought the foul line was toxic because he absolutely launched himself over the foul line, jumping as high as possible over that said line. That's only 3 so far. Don't worry, we have plenty more with just Wendell. He would also crouch down on the mound while his pitcher was standing up. And then, when his catcher would squat, he would stand back up. After that, he'd request that the umpire roll him the game ball he was going to pitch with, because it just had to hit the ground before he threw. If the umpire didn't listen, he would intentionally drop the ball so that the ball would hit the ground. Then before he threw a pitch, he would look out at the center fielder and wave until his outfield would wave back to him. Only then could he begin his outing after all of these things have happened. And once he was finished, he walked into his clubhouse and brushed his teeth in between innings. I just don't understand how you can even find out these things are important to you. Like, at what point did Turk decide he was going to bring his toothbrush to a baseball game and put it inside that dirty clubhouse and then start brushing his teeth in between innings? And how good was that damn outing that he decided that he needed to do it every single game? I can somewhat understand the other six. There's six of them to an extent. But brushing his teeth? Whatever, let's move on, because there might not be players that have as many as our friend Turk, but there are definitely some superstitions that are much stupider on their own. One of the weirdest ones was this story of Jason Giambi's legendary golden thong. You heard that right, I said golden thong. He had a golden thong hanging in his locker before every game, and when he was slumping at the plate, he would wear the thong, and he swears he never went a game without getting a hit while the golden thong was on his body. Now, you might be wondering why he didn't just wear this special piece of clothing every day, considering how effective it was. However, if you were to do that, the magic rubs off, of course. However, that's not the craziest part of this story. Not even close. One time, his teammate, Derek Jeter, was in the worst slump of his career. He was 0 for 32 with about 9 games since his last hit, and for the last few days, Giambi had been pointing to the hanging thong in his locker. I just can't say that without laughing. I cannot say that with a straight face, it's impossible. And after a few days, Jeter caved because he needed a hit, so he tried the magical thong. Jeter then hit a home run on the very first pitch he saw wearing the thong. Jeter did also say that the thong was on over his shorts, so it's not as weird as if he were wearing it under. However, sharing a thong with your teammates in hopes of giving them magical hitting powers and it actually working has to reach this list as one of the most insane ones ever. Based off of what it sounds like, the entire Yankees team was also allowed to use this article of clothing if they needed a hit on a given day. So I believe there were more than just these two wearing it as well, which again adds another layer to the insane piece of lore here. This one really might be the weirdest one, but I want to see if we can find anything that tops it. I'm not giving up yet. There have been countless food-related superstitions, like the things that you eat before the game as your pre-game meal, because some foods give you magical superpowers, like Wade Boggs, who also had more than just one silly superstition, but he always made sure to eat fried chicken before game day, which is why his well-known nickname is the Chicken Man. Sticking with Boggs, he also drew in the dirt before he competed, but he did it before every at-bat, and he wrote out an entire word, which was chai, which is the Hebrew word for life. He also made sure to be on time with everything that he did, including waking up at the exact same time every single day, and he made sure that he ran sprints at exactly 7:17 p.m. Boggs was weird, but I don't think he was weirder than Turk, and he also doesn't even have the strangest eating superstition either. That one belongs to Stan the Man Musial, the legendary St. Louis Cardinal. Stan started playing baseball in 1941, so this is one of the older superstitions on the list, and it's definitely not the weirdest one, but just how specific it is really makes me it just makes me laugh. I love this one. Stan started his morning by eating breakfast, but it was the same breakfast every single day. 2 eggs and 2 pancakes. Now, this isn't that crazy, except for the fact that every single day he ate the food in this very specific order. 1 egg followed by 2 pancakes and then the other egg. He was one of the greatest hitters of all time, but surely if he ate the 2 eggs first, or God forbid, both pancakes first, we all know he would have not been the player that he was if he made that horrible mistake. Luckily, Stan never skipped breakfast and is now one of the most famous and loved Cardinals of all time. Larry Walker had a love of his wife, and that was not a woman or even a man, but a number, and that number was the number 3. Walker was number 33 for the Rockies, and he was an amazing hitter, but all of that was due to his love of the number 3. He made sure to set his alarm at 33 minutes past his waking hour every day. He wore the number 33, took batting practice only with I wrote disciples on my script for some reason, but I meant to say numbers divisible by 3. I'm an idiot. And got married on November 3rd at 3:33 in the afternoon. Personally, I think he should have waited 4 more months and got that done in March to really hammer home the 3s, but either way, this is absolutely insane. The dedication to a number is really something. Reggie Jackson had a fairly simple one, but equally as insane in my opinion. He was being traded to the Yankees, but he was on a hot streak and he attributed that to his helmet. So what he decided to do was spray paint over his Angels helmet so that his new helmet logo could be put over it, which was the New York Yankees. He couldn't get a new helmet because that one still had hits in it, of course, so he continued wearing his Angels helmet when he was a member of the Yankees. But the Yankees logo was on it anyway, so who even knew? One pitcher, Greg Swindell, would chew on his own fingernails for the entirety of his outing. A more recent hitter, Yasiel Puig, chose to constantly lick his bats for good luck. Again, where on earth did these two find these superstitions? How did they start, and why did they go on for more than like 1 outing? How good was Greg's outing that he decided that he needed to chew his fingernails while he pitched in the future? He must have thrown a no-hitter, right? There's no other chance. Let's move away from all of the older players here and move on to some of the newer superstitions. Rick Porcello won the Cy Young in 2016 and won 22 games after having a career 4.39 ERA in the 7 seasons leading up to his Cy Young campaign. He wasn't even an all-star in that season and never was throughout the rest of his career, but in 2016, he was considered the best pitcher in the American League as he won the Cy Young. And the reason for this wasn't an adjustment, it wasn't a new pitching coach, and it wasn't just learning how to pitch in the major leagues more effectively. It was because of his lucky hat, which he did not change or wash one time throughout the entirety of the season. By the end of the season, you could see the sweat marks that had absolutely stained the hat. Half of the hat was white, but he continued wearing it because he was pitching the best of his career, and it paid off as he won the Cy Young. Insane. Bryce Harper's had his fair share of superstitions as well, one literally happening earlier this month, where after being on the worst slump of his career, he decided to put knee-high socks on and not cover them with his pants like he normally did. And of course, he had his best game in weeks where he had multiple hits and a home run. And then magically the slump was over. Earlier in the same season, something very similar happened where he decided he didn't want to wear his batting gloves because he was slumping too much with them on. He took them off and of course, immediately hit a home run. Recently, team home run celebrations have started taking over baseball, which I believe started with the 2021 Boston Red Sox home run cart, where every time the team hit a home run, they got pushed in a laundry cart down the dugout so that the teammates could give the hitter high fives. This was kind of a superstition, kind of just fun, but they literally brought their laundry cart from stadium to stadium just to ride in it if they hit a home run. So I think that's pushing the line of just for fun and really reaching into superstition territory. But I'm going to include it anyway because every team is kind of buying into it, so it kind of feels a little superstitious at this point. Now, many teams have these kinds of celebrations in today's game. The Orioles have a chug station where they chug water after a homer. Mariners have a trident. Reds wear a Viking hat. Blue Jays wear a home run jacket. And almost every team in baseball has something along those lines. But none of those compare to the lucky sausage that the Minnesota Twins had earlier this season. The Twins were playing bad baseball until a member of the team brought in a massive sausage. And the Twins just kept winning and winning with the sausage in the clubhouse. 13 games later, the winning streak finally ended at 13 games, and the rotten sausage was finally disposed of. But every time a Twin hit a home run on that winning streak, they had to catch the sausage because it was being thrown at them. Because why not throw a sausage at your teammates when they hit a home run? Team Dominican in the World Baseball Classic a few years ago also had a food as a team mascot, and it was a plantain, which was mainly carried around by relief pitcher Fernando Rodney. I could go on all day, but let's be real, the king of superstitions has to be Jason Giambi's golden thong. I mean, what the hell? How did that even happen? Why did he own a golden thong? Why did he put it on his body? Why did he do it again and again to the point where he knew this thing broke slumps? Why did he pass it around to his teammates to break their slumps as well? A truly insane story, but this is why we all love baseball.